camera's a little off kilter there. So welcome back, and we have done our center. We're picking up from our center and moving on. So here we are. Remember, we're going to be comparing to our master again. Remember, once we start our centerpiece, we go back to our master. I've already done the centerpiece. That was in another video. And I have my extra piece that I burned off that I'm going to be needing here in a minute. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to continue down and make my cross. So I'm going to do these last two Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys and then the cross. So you'll see that there's a considerable amount of space here. I'd say it's about an inch maybe. But you're going to be lining it up with your master. So remember, for this, we're going to be using the small side again. The only time we use the large side of the brass tool is when we're making the centerpiece, because we're wrapping 2 cords around and it's just too hard to get the cords through on this side, okay? So that's the only time we use the large side of the brass tool. When you're using a plastic tool, you'll need to be using the large side all the way through your rosary, okay? So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to make an Our Father here. That's where we are on our rosary. So I'm going to leave a considerable amount of space. I'm making a barrel knot, so I cross over, I make the X. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 wraps, because this is an Our Father bead. Behind and underneath, it should come out the front. I slide it off. Remember, I'm gauging. It's about an inch, maybe a little more. I'm not sure exactly. But I'm just going to make sure that I'm constantly looking at my master to make sure that that area lines up, just like on the master. Once I have it in the right spot, remember, you can use your 2 thumbnails to kind of push on either side. I always use my left hand to be that nail to be kind of the anchor. And I just pull on this cord and push until I get it tightened all the way down. And then I do an extra check just to make sure I have a little wiggle room to move it. There we go. Now I'm going to do the 3 Hail Marys. So again, I'm going to leave a little bit of space, kind of like we did back here, this kind of space. So about 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch, I believe, is roughly how much. So I'm going to leave a little space, and I'm going to make a Hail Mary now. So it's only going to be 2 wraps. 1, 2. I'm going to tuck behind and underneath. Remember, I'm gonna not get it too tight before I check it. Make sure I line it up. Mine needs to go a little to the right. And there we go. And then I make sure it's good and tight. Make my next Hail Mary. Remember, it's only 2 wraps because it's a Hail Mary. I slide it off. Tighten it down. I'm going to gauge it against my master to see if it's all in line. We just want it to match up so we have enough cord to finish all the way through, okay? And we want these all to be really uniformed, right? Okay, I'll make my 3rd one. And it's more important that we make these so uniformed and nice and tight and good solid rosaries than if we to mass produce these, okay? It's not like, you know, those of you who are in rosary makers where we make plastic rosaries for ministries to pass out. That the goal there is to mass produce and to get them out. Here, we want to take more care and make sure that we're lining everything up and that we're making good looking rosaries, because because they're all knots, it has to be distinguishable between the knots and where you are in the rosary. And then we also want it for the service members to be able to pray on it if they are in the dark. So they have to be able to feel where they are. Okay, we're now going to be making the last Our Father bead here. So remember, it's 4 wraps, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember, we leave a little more space between the Hail Marys and the Our Fathers, right? So I gauge it about 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch. I get it a little tighter, and then I put it up against my master just to make sure that that is lining up. It's looking pretty good. And then I can tighten it down once I get it in place. Okay, so there we go. Everything's lined up with my master. Now we're going to start the cross. This is going to be the last knot. This top part of the cross is going to be the last knot that we're going to be comparing against our master. So then the next thing that we're going to be doing is the crucifix, or the cross in this case, because we're just doing it with knots, so it's really just a cross. Okay, so if you'll notice I'm just going to show you my master real quick, but we're not going to really be using it too much, or not very much longer. We're just going to use it for the top part of the cross, but we have multiple parts here, and the cross is made up of 4 knots. So the top part of the cross is made with 5 wraps. The centerpiece here is going to have a knot in the center to join a cord on, but then we're going to have a 4 wrap knot over here, a 4 wrap knot over there, and then the bottom part is going to be an 8 wrap knot. So this is probably going to be the hardest thing for you to learn, and it's just a matter of practice. If you have any extra cord, you can practice by making some pocket crosses. You can ask me if I have any extra cord I can offer to you, so you can practice just making the cross part, okay? But it will come, just like everything else. Okay, so I'm just going to leave my master there. So if you notice, again, we're going to have a very large space here between the Our Father and the beginning of our cross. So it's about 1 inch, I would say, around there. So I'm going to be using the small size of my tool, of course. And I'm going to leave a considerable space, and I'm going to make the top portion of this cross, which is a 5 wrap. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to take the end of my cord, tuck it behind and underneath. It should come out the front. I'm going to slide this off, and I'm going to gauge where that should be. I'm not going to, remember, I'm just kind of holding in front of here with my thumb of my left finger, and I'm pulling from behind, and I'm anchoring that right now. And I'm just kind of pushing from behind with my right fingers here, my right thumb and index finger, and I'm pulling on this right cord. And this is just holding tight so I can anchor, okay? But before I get too close, I'm gonna keep comparing to my master so that I am going to have my knot exactly where the top part of my cross, exactly where my master has it. So I think that's about where I want it. So I'm really gonna hold that tight as an anchor, and I'm gonna pull. And in this case, I may even be twisting a little bit to get those lines, those wraps to line down, to lay down, okay? I push from behind, I pull with this cord, I twist a little bit to get it all to lay down. And we want this to be super tight. The tighter you make these knots on your cross, the better cross you're gonna have, a really solid cross. And not only do we want the knots tight, but as we make it, there's going to be a centerpiece right here of an overhand knot, and we want everything to kind of converge to that, right? We want everything to be pushed into that tight knot. And you'll understand as I make this, okay? So I just want to get this super tight. You should have no separation between your wraps. Should be so tight. Nothing should be crossing over itself. They should be all laying down next to each other. If it's not, just pull the knot apart and do it again. Okay? So there we are. I'm going to measure that. Okay, so now I'm actually done with my master. I'm just going to be working now at this point to finish up my cross. Okay? So it's super tight. I'm going to take my rosary, so the top portion that we were working on is going to go kind of up to the top. Here's our centerpiece. And then our 2 Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys, okay? And now this is the top portion of our cross. I'm going to retrieve the cord the short cord that we cut off of the centerpiece, or burned off, not cut, burned off. I'm going to pull that out because now I'm going to need that to make the horizontal part of our cross, okay? So I'm going to take that cord and I'm going to go underneath the cord that's coming out from the bottom of our top part of our cross, okay? So I'm going to go underneath that cord. And I'm going to be making an overhand knot. And an overhand knot, if you're not familiar, is the beginning part of when you're tying your shoes. So you do an overhand knot and then you tie the bow part. So we're just going to do the overhand knot part. So I'm going to take the left cord and I'm going to cross it over the right cord. And I'm going to tuck it underneath. So it should look like that. So let me do it again. I'm going to take the left cord. Remember, this cord is underneath our main cord that we've been working on. I'm going to take the left cord. I'm going to cross it over the right cord. And I'm going to tuck the left cord underneath. So it should look like that. Now I'm going to bring my 2 ends together because I want to make sure as I tighten down this knot down to this cord here, I want to make sure that the 2 sides of my cord are going to be equal. And that we need that in order to finish this cross and be able to have enough cord to finish the knots, because we're going to be making a knot on each side. Okay, so I hold those 2 ends together and I'm just going to stick my finger in here and I'm going to kind of pull down to tighten this knot down to the cord. Once I get it down pretty far, then I can let go. I know I've got it pretty tight. I can let go of the ends, and then I'm going to just tighten this down. And when I do that, I'm going to squeeze this knot together, and I'm going to pull on each side equally, and I'm going to squeeze that together to just get it tight. And it doesn't matter if you're down here on your cord or if you're way up here. As long as you're below the top portion of your cross, that's all that matters, okay? So don't worry about where you are on that cord. You're just worrying about tightening it down because this can slide, okay? So we can move it wherever we want. We just need to make sure it's below the cross, below the top part of the cross, okay? Once you have it really tight, you're just going to go back and verify that your ends are the same length. So mine are. It's kind of hard to show you that on camera. So I pulled the 2 ends together, and they're the same length, okay? So now I'm going to slide my knot up. It's okay if it moves during this process, but I'm just gonna kind of try to get closer to where I want it to be when I'm done, okay? So what I'm gonna be doing is on each of these portions of this cord, I'm going to be making a knot on either side. So it's gonna be this knot and this knot on your cross, okay? So I'm going to just turn, I'm going to choose to do it on the right, whatever side you want to start on, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to start on the right here, and I'm just going to kind of turn it sideways so that I can lay this cord across the top. Now I want to make sure I don't have this dangling down too far like that. 1, I'm not going to have enough cord to make a knot. 2, I'd have to move that knot all the way down to here. Not going to happen. So I want to be pretty close down to this center. I don't want to have too much of a distance here from the center knot that we just made and this top of my tool. But I have to have enough room to wrap 4 times. So I'm going to start right there, and I'm going to cross over. I'm going to make 4 wraps. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And look how little cord I have. It's very tight. This is going to be the tightest part for you. And if you're not pulling your cord tight enough, or you didn't start in the center, there's lots of reasons why you may be running out of cord if you don't have a long enough cord here. But you're going to tuck that under. My end wasn't burned very well, so it's going to hang up a little bit here. Okay, so I'm just going to back that up because this is a great example of what to do. So it's catching on this. See how this is kind of flared out? The end of this is flared out. So I'm going to just take my tool, my burner tool, and I'm just going to barely melt that so I can twist it together here at the end so I have a nicer end. So see how I brought it all in so it's not flared out. Okay, so let's go back. Here we are with our knot. Just making sure it's tight. I'm going to be really close down here so that I don't have to move the knot very far and I have enough cord to wrap. So I'm going to do 4 wraps. So I cross over. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to have just enough to tuck underneath. Push that under. I'm going to slide it off. And then here's going to be the tricky part. The first thing I want to do is push gently, but push to make sure that this knot is right up against that overhand knot. And I'm going to pull on this right hand cord as I tighten it. So I kind of push, I slide this forward as I pull on this cord. And you can see it turning as I pull on the cord. And so what helps too is to help that turn, to coil it down. And that helps to keep all of the rows of your knot in place as well. So it's squeezing, it's pulling on the back end towards that knot. Before you get it too tight, you want to make sure it is all the way up against that overhand knot that we made. And I just keep pulling, twisting, squeezing, pushing on the back end of it. And I'm pulling really hard with my left hand, and I'm pulling with the cord with my right hand to get it tight and towards that center. That overhand knot should almost be like going into your knot, your barrel knot, okay? So it looks kind of funny. That's what it looks like right now. Okay, and it's okay if this has slid down, just slide it back up. If this slid down your cord here, that's okay, just slide it back up. That's not too important at this point. Okay, so if I get it as tight as I think, now I'm gonna just kind of flip it so I can use the other side to make a barrel knot on that side. So I'm going to again, be really close down, enough just to wrap 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to have, again, just enough cord here to tuck underneath. So you can understand now why I'm so particular about making sure you match up to your master. Because if you don't, you'll be off in your spacing, and you will not have enough cord to finish your rosary, your cross here, okay? So remember, we're pushing from behind. I'm making sure before I get anything even remotely tight, I am up against this overhand knot, okay? And we're on the back side of that overhand knot right now, by the way, because I kind of flipped this to make this side. So I push, I coil, I pull on this string. I make sure that it's all the way up against that overhand knot. Once I know it's there, now I can start to pull the knot with my left hand and pull this cord with my right. I'm twisting to get it to lay down, twisting and coiling the barrel knot to get it to lay down nice. All of my wraps should be next to each other. Nothing should be overlapping. If it is, then you need to redo the knot, okay? Because this has to be really good, firm, and solid. So there's no lines, and you can see there's no spaces in my wraps. Nothing's crossing over each other. This is, look how solid that is. I can move this, and nothing's bending. It's like a one solid log. Do you see that? Okay, so I'm gonna flip this over because that's the back side that we were working on. Here's the front side of our overhand knot, okay? So at this point, once I get it all tightened down, I'm gonna be pulling these two knots towards each other, okay? And then at this point, I'm gonna be ready to work on the bottom part of the cross. And here's where it's important that we slide this overhand knot with this horizontal part. We're gonna slide that up as tight as we can up there, okay? Now I'm gonna turn it sideways like this because I'm going to be using this rest of this cord here to make the bottom part, which is the hardest knot I think probably you'll find in this process. And the reason is simply because you're gonna be wrapping 8 times and it's gonna be very hard to move that without it crisscrossing. But you just gotta go slow and easy with it. That's the only way to do these and keep everything in line. Okay, so I'm pulling this horizontal part as close tight to the top part of the cross. And now I'm gonna be making an 8 wrap. And again, we don't wanna be way down here making a knot because then I gotta move that all the way over to here and you won't be able to do that. It will tighten up way back here. So I wanna be pretty close, but this time I have to go out just a little farther because I'm gonna be wrapping 8 times, so I need room to do all those wraps. So I'm gonna be about right here. So you see that distance? So I'd say this is probably a little over an inch maybe. And you'll learn and gauge this better as you make them, okay? So I'm gonna cross over, come underneath, and I'm gonna wrap 8 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you can see I have still some room here. I could have probably gone a little closer. So I'm actually gonna take this off. I'm gonna get a little closer so that I don't have that much room, okay? So I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 8 wraps. Okay, so I'm pretty close to this knot here in the center, right? The overhand knot. So I'm going to take the end and I'm going to come up behind and underneath. Okay. And this time when I pull this off, I don't want to pull on this cord yet. Don't pull that yet. Just slide it off. You see I'm gently holding it between my right index finger and my thumb. And look what I'm doing. Before I begin pulling, I'm already moving that towards that center. See how I just moved it up there? I just slid it up there. I didn't pull on anything yet. I want it to be there before I start pulling on this cord. So I'm gonna push from behind now, and I'm gonna pull on the cord, and I'm gonna twist at the same time. So it's just kind of a constant pulling on the cord, pushing from behind, and twisting. And it's just you just want to make sure that before you pull the cord, this is all the way tight up against that center. And it's just a slow process. When I coil, you'll see this gets bigger down here, this last wrap. See, when I coil, see how it's kind of flaring like a cone, kind of. It's wider down here and tighter down here. And then when I pull on the cord, it makes that smaller up there. See how that works? Yeah, you just kind of play around with it. Maybe just take a cord and play around with the knot and just look at how to tighten it and how it functions. It's, you know, it's got a real charism to it. You know, it does certain things, and you just want to learn that coil and how to manipulate it, how to tighten this down and keeping all these rows in line. If you pull too hard on this end, all of your cords will go crazy up and down and cross, and it's like really hard to fix. So don't pull too much on this cord. You want to take it slow. You want to push from behind, coil, and then pull on the cord. Push from behind, coil, and see, mine's starting to get a little jaggedy, so I'm going to just coil a lot. See how that smoothed that down? Pull, coil, pulling with the cord, and I'm pulling with my left hand to pull it into the center at the same time. Because that's the most important part. We keep everything super tight up here. Everything tight to that center overhand knot that we made. And you just keep playing. So you're pulling from the bottom, pulling this right cord, and twisting until you get it super, like, it should be like a little log. You shouldn't be able to bend it at all. You should see no spaces between your cord wraps. You should have nothing crossing. None of your cord wraps should be crossing. So if you're noticing now, I'm grabbing a hold of this cord that's above the top part of the cross. I'm not grabbing the cord, and I'm pulling the knot towards the center with my right hand while I pull on this cord or hold this cord in my left hand. So everything, I'm pulling the knot towards the center, and I'm pulling the cord tight. And you're just gonna now go around, all the way around, twisting whenever you need to get things to lay down tight, pulling the knots towards the centers, all the way around, so that you have a good, solid, tight cross. So it should be hard. Like, see, it's not moving at all. I can move it any direction, and it's just solid. It's not bending at the center. The sides, the knots themselves are not bending. Yeah, we want it to be good and solid. Again, let me see if I do not. Yeah, so just keep pulling everything in, all the knots, pulling on these cords, bringing everything into the center. Okay? Once you're done and you know you've got your good solid cross, at this point, these are the only parts that will actually be discarded because there's just nothing we can do with that. So that's the only waste that we have. We're trying to be very good stewards of our money. And so this will be the only waste, these two short ends that are coming off of your horizontal part of your cross. So on those, because we're not going to use them, it doesn't matter if we cut it or burn it. So just to protect the integrity of the knot, it's safer to just cut them. So I cut them kind of close. You'll see I've got a little bit, and I will burn that part into the knot. But I just cut those pieces off and throw them away. Now the bottom part, I can use that to make pocket crosses. So I'm asking those of you in Into the Field ministry to burn this part off. So I'm gonna, just like when we burned it off at the centerpiece, you're gonna turn your lighter on and you're gonna burn pretty close, but not right on the knot, because we don't wanna burn the knot. I'm gonna roll this after it cools for a second. And then I'm gonna use this piece for pocket crosses. So we're just gonna, when you return your rosaries to me, your finished rosaries, you're gonna just put this extra scrap in the bag as well, and then I can utilize it to make pocket crosses. So I'm gonna come back and just light this up just a hair down here so I can tap it into the bottom of the cross, and I'm gonna come in close. Hopefully you can see this. but it's kind of flat up against that, and it's melted into this knot, and that's going to secure this knot. And I'm going to do the same thing on the sides, these little pieces that were sticking off after I cut. I'm just going to light those up, and then I'm going to tap that into the side of, and you see how it melts it into the knot, so that secures that really well. And you want to make sure you're tapping it good so it goes into the knot. And we don't have any sharp, because this is plastic, literally, you know, because it's nylon cord. See how that is? If you don't tap it down, it's sharp. And that's not comfortable to pray with. So yeah, so there we go. And that's our finished knot. And you can hear it. It's hard. And it's hard because it's tight. If you don't hear that, and you can't pick up your cross and you know, hold it without it bending in the center, then you just don't have tight enough knots. And it's just a matter of working on it. It'll come. So don't worry, just keep pulling, twisting, and pushing from behind, and making sure that everything's being pushed up to this center overhand knot that you made. Okay? So there you go. That is your finished rosary. Remember, you saved that last piece so we can make pocket crosses. And then this is what your finished rosary looks like. So that's fun. We've completed it. And it's really clear. You can see all the parts of the rosary. So those who maybe have never prayed the rosary, you know, they need to be able to find, well, where's the bead that I pray the Our Father? Where do I pray the Hail Mary? It's got to be pretty clear. You want to be able to hold your rosary up and say, that's a rosary. Okay? So there you go. That's how you make the cross. Make sure you check out the other videos. There's some helpful tips. I will show you what happens if you don't have a long enough piece to make your cross. I can show you a little bit of trick that might work. And save your rosary. So please tune into my other videos, and happy rosary making. God bless.